Hey guys, so I, like many others, have contracted Game of Thrones-itis, and this is an affliction that is more consuming than bloody grayscale, because the 7 weeks that Game of Thrones is on the telly, I turn into a manic, crazy person who avoids the internet on Sundays and Mondays because I'm worried I'm going to come across just even the slightest hints of spoilers. I'm one of those people that gets annoyed when people post even really obscure things on Twitter or Facebook saying, oh my god, last night's episode of Game of Thrones was mind-blowing. And to me that makes me think, oh thanks, now I know I'm gonna get my mind blown. You've raised my expectations now and I know to expect something awesome. Petty? Maybe, but in a world where binge watching is the new norm, it's so nice to have a show again that consistently delivers cliffhanging, theory-inducing weekly episodes that are pure water cooler talk. That's the real magic of Game of Thrones. It's not bloody dragons and enchanted walls, it's that it gets us talking and debating. You get a whole 7 days to digest what you've just seen and then start thinking, oh, where's it gonna go next? It's a shared collective experience, and that's something special. So before the final 2 episodes are released, I thought I would do a quick video to share my theories on where I think the show is going. I'm gonna issue a massive spoiler warning now because I will be talking about plot and character developments that have happened in the past season. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones, get out. You do not need to be here, okay? This video is not for you. And while you're at it, just go and watch Game of Thrones. You'll thank me. Silly fools. Right, so next week is the penultimate episode of season 7, and from the looks of the footage that we've seen in the trailer, it looks like this episode is going to be another hard home start episode, with Jon and his boy band taking on the Night King and the army of the undead at Eastwatch. They're going to attempt to bring a White Walker back in order to prove to Cersei that the army of the undead is a real threat. And with an episode title like Death is the Enemy, it implies that there is going to be a lot of deaths in this episode. So the Magnificent 7 characters that we have at Eastwatch include Jon, Jorah, the Hound, Tormund, Gendry, Beric, and Thoros. My prediction is that only a couple of them will make it back. One being Jon, the others I'm not so sure about. Jon is just too important to the overall storyline to kill off now. I think most likely Tormund, Beric, and Thoros are gonna die, and out of Gendry, Jorah, and the Hound, I feel Jorah could very well likely die because it feels like his character development has pretty much gone everywhere it can go, unless his curing of grayscale is a pivotal bit of information for season 8. Both the Hound and Gendry would make for great reunions with Arya, but I doubt the writers would be that kind to us and let both of them survive. Gendry has been gone longer, and there's a theory that because he is a blacksmith, he might play a hand in crafting the actual dragon glass weapons they used to fight the Whites. But having said that, the Hound also has this redemption character arc, which could go more places than Gendry's. So if I were to take a guess, I would predict that the Hound is more likely to make it back than Gendry. I like that the Magnificent 7 are essentially made up of supporting characters that have been dead in some form or another. Jon was stabbed in the heart, Jorah after he contracted grayscale, the Hound was pretty much left for dead by Arya, and Beric has just been brought back time and time again. It's kind of poetic that this little group of almost dead men is going to be taking on the actual dead. And also there's one more character that I think could potentially show up because we are north of the wall, and that's Benjen. This seems like a logical place for him to show up, and again, if he does show up, it's most likely he would die too. I think this would be a good place to kill Benjen off because I strongly predict that by the end of season 7, we will see at least a chunk of the wall fall down, and the dead will start to make their descent on Westeros. Game of Thrones has always been a show that is rich in foreshadowing, and there have been a lot of hints this season that the wall will come down.
The wall has stood through it all, and every winter that ever came has ended.
It really is a matter of time before this happens, and how great of an ending to the season would that be? It would just leave us hungry for more. But yeah, how can a small band of brothers possibly take on this ginormous army of the undead? Especially when this footage from the trailer shows them hopelessly surrounded and outnumbered. There will probably be some Deus Ex Machina situation near the end of the episode where someone or something happens to help them, whether it's Benjen or maybe Bran helping with his psychic powers, or perhaps even Dany on a dragon, you never know. But it's so much fun to theorize and speculate. As for what's going on in Winterfell, it's looking very likely that Littlefinger is going to be killed off sometime in the next couple of episodes. He's been playing the Stark girls against each other, but this whole wolf pack analogy that they've reiterated time and time again this season implies that the Starks are going to stick together, and that probably indicates that this will be Littlefinger's demise. I think they will discover that Littlefinger played a hand in the betrayal of Ned, and then Arya will add him to her list, and Sansa will give her approval to kill him. Sisters are doing it for themselves. Right now, back to King's Landing, and what do I predict is going to happen in the next 2 episodes? Well, now that Cersei has announced to Jaime that she is pregnant, this sort of implies that the writers are going to keep her around a little bit longer, because we're going to want to see how that plays out. I was convinced that Cersei was definitely going to die this season, but Cersei is actually my favourite character. Yeah! So sorry, I just think Lena Headey's acting is just on another level in the show. And I'd be happy for her to get to season 8. I do think she is definitely going to kick the bucket. And if we're to believe the Valancourt prophecy, it'll be at the hands of Jaime, or technically hand of Jaime, or perhaps him getting her pregnant is what kills her, dying in childbirth, etc. It's a different take on the Valancourt prophecy. And one more thing that could potentially happen in King's Landing before the end of season 7, and this is only if the Hound survives the battle at Eastwatch. It's a little bit of a reach, but it could still happen, and it's what's known by the fans as Clegane Bowl. Yes, a battle to the death between the Clegane brothers, the Hound, and the Mountain. How freaking epic does that sound? Now, this is just conjecture, but the reason I believe this could potentially happen is because the Hound is now with the Brotherhood Without Banners, who, back in season 1, were told by Ned Stark to kill the Mountain. The idea of Clegane Bowl was teased back in season 6 when the Hound returned, but because Tom and banned all trials by combat, there was no way it was going to happen. But now, because of this footage that we've seen in the season 7 trailer, there's this little clip here where we see a character which looks a lot like the Hound in what appears to be the Dragon Pits at King's Landing, taking out a sword and getting ready for a battle. Could this be the Hound getting ready to battle his brother? It's very possible because of all this geographical jumping that we've seen this season. It's very possible that to say that Jon and the Hound could capture a White Walker with the intention of bringing him to King's Landing. And when they get there, this leads to a confrontation which would lead to the Hound battling his brother. Like I said, it's a bit of a reach, but that's just the inner fanboy in me just hoping this might be what happens. It's a theory. If you've got one, let me know. Let's start a dialogue. So what about Dany? Where's she going to end up at the end of this season? Well, to be honest, I'm a bit stuck with Dany. I'm not sure, because I don't feel like she's going to attack King's Landing in the final episode just yet. I have a feeling she's going to do something very bold in the final episode, but until we've seen death as the enemy, all we can do now is just speculate. It's really a question of what her priorities are if and when Jon should return with a White Walker. Will she want to help with the big picture, or is she still going to be obsessed with taking the Iron Throne? She could still help Theon try and rescue her sister Yara from the clutches of Euron, maybe take a few ships down with her dragons, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Obviously, there's no way that Dany is going to die in this season. She's just way too important. And another thing that could happen is Bronn could die in the final episode, because Cersei did say that Jaime was betrayed by him, and I imagine she would want him to take care of that. And I still feel the last episode is going to throw us a massive curveball with like a character death or something, because I feel like not enough important people have died this season. There was Lady Olenna, but I still feel like we're due for a really big death, and yeah, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Bronn, Brienne? God. If you guys have a theory on who it might be, do let me know in the comment section below. Right guys, so that's my video of where I think season 7 of Game of Thrones is going. If you guys have some theories of your own, I'd love to hear from you. You can either let me know in the comment section below, or you can catch me here on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching, guys. For more things related to movies, TV, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Hearfield, and your watch has ended.